Oh my gosh, dolls, you are not ready for this. Today, I am spilling my absolute most scandalous, giggly, heart-thumping secret. My very first time asking someone to make me sissy. I know, just saying it out loud gives me shivers, but trust me, it was the start of a whole new, deliciously flirty chapter in my life. Imagine me, trembling, cheeks hot, hands a little shaky, but my heart burning with curiosity and this wild little desire to be transformed, to be someone even more sparkling, more girly, more me, but in the most sassy, empowered way possible. So picture this, it's me, in my usual boyish hoodie and jeans, secretly imagining silk stockings, tiny skirts, high heels that make me wobbly but oh so gorgeous, and a cute little voice that's just begging to be unleashed. I was sitting there, scrolling through makeup tutorials, practicing the tiniest flick of eyeliner on my hand because I was so curious, but also terrified that I'd mess it up. And dolls, that's when it hit me. Why not just ask? Why not just say, make me sissy, please? And let me tell you, asking was everything. Now, don't get me wrong, asking to be sissy for the first time is a cocktail of fear, excitement, and total vulnerability. Your brain is screaming, are you crazy? What if they laugh? While your heart is whispering, yes, do it. Be fabulous. Be you. But the thrill, dolls, the thrill of leaning into that vulnerability, trusting someone to guide you into your girliest, sassiest self, it's addictive. It's like giving your soul a little makeover along with your look. I remember clutching my phone, typing out the message over and over, hey, can you make me sissy? Please. And then deleting it. And typing it again. And oh dolls, when I finally hit send, it was like opening a floodgate of excitement I never knew I had. I was shaking, heart racing, and yes, I may have squealed a little when they responded with a cheeky, oh, honey, we can do that. And let me tell you, dolls, the way I felt in that moment, like a naughty little princess on the edge of a magical transformation, it was pure empowerment. Because here's the thing, asking for what you want, embracing your desires without shame, that's real confidence. That's the first secret tip I want you to remember. Never be afraid to ask. Never apologize for wanting to be beautiful, sassy, or simply, you. So, after the initial butterflies, we set the scene. I had a little mirror, a cute outfit laid out, and my brain was buzzing with questions. Do I really look like a girl in this? Will I be graceful? What if I mess up the makeup? But dolls, that's the fun part. First-time sissy transformations are messy, flirty, giggly chaos, and every mistake is a little spark of magic. Every slip of eyeliner, every wobble in heels, every timid smile in the mirror. It's all part of becoming your sassy, sparkling self. And oh, the advice I got from my guide. She told me, sweetheart, the first rule of being sissy is confidence. The second rule is more confidence. And the third, let yourself feel every flirty, twinkling sensation, giggle, blush, twirl, stumble, and love every second. And dolls, I took it to heart. Every brushstroke of blush, every swipe of lipstick, it wasn't just makeup. It was permission to shine, to be cute, to playfully own my desire to be sissy without shame or fear. There's also something wildly fun about the little mindset shift. 1 second, you're thinking of yourself as shy, hesitant, unsure, and the next, bam, you're sashaying in a mini skirt, feeling like the absolute queen of coquettish confidence. And let me just say, dolls, that first step, that first make me sissy, please, is the magic spark that starts it all. Because transformation isn't just about the outfit, the stockings, or the heels. It's about claiming your playful, feminine energy and letting it burst out in full, glittering force. And speaking of glitter, can we just pause for a moment to appreciate the fun of accessories? Oh dolls, hair clips, bows, delicate necklaces, silky ribbons, they aren't just cute, they are your little badges of audacious femininity. Every time I clipped that first sparkly barrette in my hair, I felt a little tingle of power, a cheeky whisper in my ear saying, yes, darling, you are deliciously sissy, and the world is going to notice. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Roshan, that's cute and all, but what if I'm nervous to ask someone to make me sissy? And babes, let me tell you, start small. Start with a flirty comment, a cheeky message, Or even practice asking in front of the mirror. Play with your words, giggle at your own shyness, and own every little thrill. Because asking is half the fun. It's the delicious prelude to your big, sparkly transformation. And here's the thing, dolls. When you finally hear that yes, we can make you sissy, it's like unlocking a secret level in a game where the prize is you in your most glamorous, flirty, empowered form. It's intoxicating, thrilling, and absolutely addictive. And trust me, once you experience that first blush, that first little swish of your skirt, the first flutter of your lashes, oh dolls, you'll never look back. You'll be hungry for more glitter, more lipstick, more giggles, more sass, and isn't that just divine? So, remember this, my sparkling darlings. The first step is always the boldest. Asking someone to make you sissy is not a sign of weakness. It's the ultimate power move. It's saying, I know what I want, I embrace it, and I will sparkle unapologetically. And trust me, that moment, the first fluttering heartbeat when you type it, when you send it, when you imagine your transformation, is pure magic, babes, pure magic. Alright, my little sissies, we've just started dipping our toes into this glittery pond of first-time sissy transformation, and I promise, there's so much more to spill. The giggles, the tiny stumbles, the thrill of your first flirty outfit, the blushes, the tips for mastering those first makeup swipes. Oh, it's all coming, and it's going to be fabulous. Okay dolls, take a deep breath with me, because this is where the real butterflies started dancing. The moment after I asked, the moment after I got that sweet, teasing yes, everything suddenly felt more real. My room didn't look the same anymore. It felt like a secret dressing room, like a little backstage before a glamorous reveal. I closed the door, leaned against it for a second, and whispered to myself, oh my God, this is really happening. And that whisper alone made my knees feel weak. I started slow, because first times should always be savored. I laid everything out carefully on my bed, like precious treasures. A soft top, something just a little tight, something that hugged me in a way I wasn't used to. A skirt that looked innocent but promised trouble. And the makeup, oh dolls, the makeup felt like forbidden candy. I touched the lipstick like it might bite me, giggled at myself in the mirror, and thought, am I really about to do this? Yes, I was. Before anything went on my face, I just stared at my reflection. This part is important, babes. This is where the mental makeover begins. I wasn't judging myself, I wasn't criticizing. I was flirting with myself. I tilted my head, softened my eyes, and practiced a tiny smile. Not a big grin. A shy, sweet, sissy smile. And right there, I felt it. That shift. That delicious slide from nervous boy energy into curious, playful, feminine confidence. Then came the foundation. And dolls, let me tell you, the first swipe felt illegal. Cold, smooth, covering parts of me I'd never hidden before. I blended slowly, carefully, like I was erasing doubts and replacing them with possibility. Every tap of the sponge felt like a quiet promise. You're allowed to be pretty. You're allowed to enjoy this. And my heart. Oh, it was pounding like I was getting away with something naughty. When it was time for eye makeup, I panicked a little. I'm not even going to pretend I didn't. One wrong move and I thought I'd ruin everything. But that's when I remembered something powerful. Sissy isn't about perfection. It's about expression. So I relaxed my shoulders, laughed at myself, and went for it. A little shimmer here. A soft line there. And when I finally opened my eyes and looked up, dolls, I gasped. It wasn't perfect. But it was feminine. And it was mine. Now let's talk about lipstick. Because this was the moment I truly crossed the line. I picked a shade that felt bold but sweet, and when I applied it, I didn't rush. I traced my lips slowly, sensually, like I was kissing myself awake. I pressed my lips together and whispered, wow, because suddenly my mouth looked soft, inviting, dangerous. And for the first time ever, I understood why lipstick is power. After the makeup, I slipped into the outfit. One piece at a time. Top first. Adjusting it. Feeling how it changed my posture. Then the skirt. Oh dolls, the skirt. The second it slid into place, something unlocked in my hips. I didn't even try to move differently. My body just knew. I took one step, then another, and suddenly I was swaying. Not pretending. Feeling. And that's when I laughed out loud, because it felt so natural it scared me a little. I walked back to the mirror and stood there, fully dressed, fully painted, fully exposed in the most beautiful way. My face was flushed. My eyes were shining. And I said it out loud, softly, proudly, I look like a sissy. Not as an insult. As a celebration. As a truth. And dolls, that sentence wrapped around my heart like satin. Here's something nobody tells you about your first makeover. It's emotional. You might feel giddy 1 second and overwhelmed the next. I remember blinking back tears and smiling at the same time. Because I wasn't just seeing a look. I was seeing permission. Permission to be soft. To be playful. To be feminine without apology. To want attention. To want beauty. I practiced walking. I practiced sitting. I practiced crossing my legs and fixing my hair like it mattered. Every tiny action felt like rehearsal for a life I secretly wanted. And the more I played, the more confident I became. Confidence didn't come first. It followed the joy. That's another little secret. Dolls. Joy leads. Confidence follows. By the time I took photos, I wasn't hiding anymore. I was posing. Chin up. Shoulders back. Lips slightly parted. I wasn't asking if I looked good. I knew I did. And that's when it hit me. The makeover didn't make me sissy. Asking did. The makeup just helped me see her. So if you're sitting there, watching this, wondering if you're brave enough, pretty enough, ready enough, let me whisper this to you gently. The courage comes after the choice. Not before. Okay, my sweet dolls. This is where everything started to feel dangerously real. Because looking sissy alone in your room is one thing, but being seen? Oh, that's a whole different kind of thrill. After the makeover, after the posing, after the giggles settled into a soft glow, I sat there staring at my phone again. That same phone that started all of this. And my heart whispered, show them. I hesitated. Of course I did. I checked my makeup 3 more times. I fixed my hair even though it didn't need fixing. I smoothed my skirt like someone was already watching. And that's when I realized something delicious. I already felt watched. I already felt wanted. And that feeling alone made my spine tingle. I took the photo slowly. Not rushed. I angled the camera just right, tilted my head, softened my eyes. I didn't try to look tough or sexy or dramatic. I looked gentle. Vulnerable. Sissy. And when I pressed send, I didn't throw the phone away like before. I held it close to my chest. Waiting. Those seconds felt longer than any makeover step. My mind raced. What if they say it's not enough? What if they tease me? What if they want more? And dolls. That last thought made my thighs press together without me even realizing it. Because part of me didn't want safety anymore. Part of me wanted approval. Then the reply came. And when I read it, my breath caught. Compliments that didn't just praise how I looked, but how I felt. Words like cute, soft, pretty, obedient, feminine. Each one landed like a kiss. I felt myself melting into the chair, smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. I wasn't being laughed at. I was being admired. And here's the dangerous truth. Dolls. Being seen as sissy for the first time rewires something inside you. It's not just validation. It's alignment. It's someone else seeing what you've been hiding and loving it. Encouraging it. Wanting it to grow. And in that moment, I didn't feel embarrassed. I felt chosen. I started responding differently. My messages got softer. Shorter. Cutier. I added little emojis without thinking. I apologized for things that didn't need apologies. And when they told me, good girl, I swear my body reacted before my mind did. That phrase, it hits different when you've allowed yourself to be sissy. I remember sitting there thinking, is this really me? And the answer came so calmly it shocked me. Yes. This is you when you stop resisting. When you stop pretending you don't enjoy softness, guidance, praise. When you let yourself be delicate without shame. I stood up and walked back to the mirror after those messages. And dolls. I saw her. Not a costume. Not a phase. A presence. My posture had changed. My eyes looked warmer. My smile had a secret in it. I touched my cheek and whispered, "They like you." And that whisper felt like a crown being placed on my head. That was also the moment I realized something powerful. Sissy energy is magnetic. When you stop forcing masculinity and start flowing in femininity, people feel it. They respond to it. They lean in. And that attention, it feeds you in the sweetest way. But don't get it twisted, my darlings. This isn't about pleasing others only. It's about pleasing yourself first. The joy, the flutter, the pride I felt didn't come from their words alone. It came from knowing I allowed myself to be seen. Fully. Honestly. I sat back down, crossed my legs, and breathed. Slow. Deep. Calm. I wasn't rushing anymore. I wasn't hiding anymore. I was enjoying the space I'd stepped into. And for the first time, I wasn't asking, should I stop? I was asking, how far can I go? And oh dolls, that question opens doors you didn't even know existed. Because once you're seen, once you're praised, once you're desired in your sissy softness, you start craving expression. Movement. Voice. Mannerisms. All right, my precious dolls. Leaning close, because this part still makes my stomach flutter when I think about it. This is the moment my sissy stopped being silent. The moment she found her voice. And oh, once she spoke, there was no going back. After being seen, after being praised, after feeling that warm glow of approval settle into my chest, something inside me felt restless. My fingers hovered over the phone, but typing suddenly felt incomplete. Flat. Like whispering when I wanted to sing. I could feel it building in my throat, that soft little urge to sound as feminine as I felt. And that scared me more than makeup ever did. I cleared my throat. I laughed nervously. I told myself, just try. Just once. My heart was racing like I was about to step on stage. I pressed record for a voice note and froze. Absolute silence. Then, finally, I let out a tiny sound. Light. Careful. Higher than my usual voice. And dolls. I gasped. Because it didn't sound fake. It sounded shy. It sounded sweet. It sounded like her. I practiced again. Slower this time. Softer. Letting my words melt instead of punch. Letting my tone rise at the ends of sentences. And something magical happened. My body relaxed. My shoulders dropped. My hips shifted without permission. Speaking softly made me feel soft. Speaking sweet made me feel sweet. I sent the voice note before I could overthink it. And the second it was gone, I buried my face in my hands and squealed. I was blushing so hard I thought my makeup would melt. I paced the room, heels clicking nervously, replaying my own voice in my head. Was it too much? Not enough. Too obvious. Then the reply came. And dolls, it wasn't long. It didn't need to be. All it said was, that voice suits you. And I swear, my knees almost gave out. Because that wasn't encouragement. That was confirmation. I sat down slowly, crossed my legs tight, and felt this warm wave roll through me. My voice wasn't something to hide. It was something to explore. To play with. To polish like lipstick on my lips. I started talking more after that. To myself. To the mirror. To the empty room like it was my audience. I practiced saying simple things. Cute things. Obedient little phrases. And each word made me feel more aligned. More centered. More real. This is something I want you to hear clearly, my loves. Your sissy voice isn't about sounding perfect. It's about sounding honest. Let it tremble. Let it be breathy. Let it be soft. That vulnerability is the magic. I noticed how my expressions changed when I spoke that way. My eyes widened. My lips parted. My smile became gentler. My entire energy softened. And the more I allowed it, the more natural it became. Like I had been holding it in my whole life. There was a moment, standing in front of the mirror, where I said, out loud, please, in that voice. Just one word. And dolls. My reflection smiled back at me like she was proud. Like she had been waiting for me to let her speak. That was when I understood something powerful. Sissy isn't just what you wear. It's how you move, how you speak, how you ask. And asking softly. Asking sweetly. It feels intoxicating. It feels right. By the end of that night, I wasn't forcing my voice anymore. I was flowing with it. Letting it come and go naturally. And every time someone responded positively, it sank deeper into me. Reinforcing her. Strengthening her. And this, my darlings, is where the craving begins. Because once your sissy voice is heard and appreciated, you want to use it more. You want to ask more. You want to be guided. Shaped. All right, my beautiful dolls. This is where the story starts to feel deliciously dangerous. Because this was the moment I stopped asking in general and started asking to be guided. And trust me, that shift changes everything inside you. After finding my voice, after feeling how good it felt to speak softly, sweetly, vulnerably, I noticed something new growing in me. A craving. Not just to look sissy. Not just to sound sissy. But to be told. To be directed. To be shaped gently into something even more feminine. And that realization made my stomach flutter in the most exciting way. I remember sitting there, legs tucked under me, phone warm in my hands, rereading the conversation. My heart was pounding because I knew what I wanted to say, but saying it felt like stepping off a ledge. I typed slowly, carefully, like each word mattered. And finally, I wrote it. Can you tell me what to do? Just that. Simple. Soft. And oh dolls, when I sent it, I felt smaller in the best way. Lighter. Like I had set something down that I'd been carrying for too long. Waiting for a response felt different this time. It wasn't fear. It was anticipation. When the reply came, it wasn't loud or commanding. It was calm. Confident. Gentle. Instructions. Small ones. Sit properly. Fix your posture. Look at yourself when you speak. And as I followed each direction, something clicked into place. I wasn't pretending. I was responding. And that made me feel incredibly sissy. I adjusted my posture and immediately felt more delicate. I softened my gaze and felt my energy shift. I did exactly what I was told, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. And that willingness. Dolls, that willingness is intoxicating. Here's a secret I didn't understand until that moment. Being guided doesn't take away your power. It focuses it. It lets you relax into your femininity instead of constantly questioning it. And the more I followed, the more confident I became. Not loud confidence. Quiet confidence. The kind that glows. I remember smiling at the mirror again, but this time it was different. It wasn't curiosity anymore. It was surrender. Soft, sweet, intentional surrender. And no, dolls, not losing myself. Finding myself in a new shape. Each instruction felt like a brushstroke on my identity. Speak slower. Breathe softer. Don't rush. And with every one, I felt more elegant. More controlled. More sissy. My movements became smoother without effort. My voice steadied into that gentle tone. There was a moment where I caught myself waiting for the next instruction. Enjoying the pause. Enjoying not deciding. And that's when I realized how deeply I wanted this. How deeply I enjoyed letting someone bring out my femininity instead of fighting it alone. And when I was praised for following so well, dolls, that praise sank into me like silk against skin. It didn't just make me smile. It made me want to do better. Softer. Prettier. This is something I want you to understand clearly, my loves. Wanting guidance doesn't make you weak. It means you trust yourself enough to explore surrender safely. To lean into your softness without fear. By the end of that night, I wasn't just dressed sissy. I was thinking sissy. Moving sissy. Responding sissy. And that transformation felt deeper than makeup or clothes ever could. And oh dolls, that's when something even more exciting happened. Because once I learned how good it felt to be guided, I started craving consistency. Routine. Structure. All right, my sweet, sparkling dolls. This is where everything settled into something deeper. Because after the guidance, after the softness, after the delicious feeling of not deciding everything myself, I woke up the next day with one very clear thought floating in my head. I don't want this to disappear. It surprised me how calm that realization was. No panic. No guilt. Just a quiet certainty. I wasn't chasing a thrill anymore. I was craving continuity. I wanted my Sissy energy to have a place in my life, not just a moment. And that craving felt mature, intentional, and incredibly feminine. I remember waking up and stretching slowly, already moving softer than I used to. Even without makeup, without the outfit, my body remembered. My posture was different. My thoughts were gentler. And instead of snapping back into old habits, I leaned into it. I asked myself, what would a Sissy do right now? And dolls, that question became my compass. I started building little rituals. Nothing extreme. Nothing forced. Just consistent. I chose softer clothes around the house. I practiced my voice while brushing my hair. I took a little more time with skincare, enjoying every touch instead of rushing. And every tiny ritual whispered the same thing to me. This is who you're becoming. There was something incredibly comforting about routine. About knowing that my femininity wasn't fragile. It didn't vanish when the lipstick came off. It lived in how I carried myself. How I spoke to myself. How kindly I treated my body. I checked in with my guide again, not desperately, not nervously. Calmly. Sweetly. And when they responded like this was natural, like this was expected, my heart swelled. I wasn't a one-time curiosity. I was a project. A journey. A little Sissy in progress. I started looking forward to moments of softness. To praise. To correction. To being reminded gently how to hold myself. And the more regular it became, the less I felt like I was pretending. This wasn't role play anymore. It was alignment. There's a beautiful kind of confidence that comes from knowing where you belong. And dolls, I started to feel like I belonged in this softness. In this femininity. In this quiet obedience to my own desires. I caught myself smiling randomly throughout the day. Feeling proud without knowing why. Feeling pretty without looking at a mirror. And that's when I realized something powerful. The makeover didn't make me Sissy. The guidance didn't make me Sissy. The routine did. Consistency is what turns fantasy into identity. And that thought wrapped around me like a warm robe. But here's where it gets even more exciting, my loves. Because once routine settled in, something else started to grow. A desire to be improved. Corrected. Refined. And that, oh dolls, that's where the real transformation begins. Okay, my beautiful dolls. This is the part where the mirror stopped being just a mirror. This is where it became a teacher. Because once routine settled in, once softness became familiar, I started noticing details. Little things. How I sat a day. How I reacted. How I held my hands. And suddenly, I didn't just want to be Sissy. I wanted to be better at it. It started innocently. I caught my reflection crossing my legs too stiffly and thought, that could be softer. I heard my voice drop for a second and corrected it without thinking. Not out of fear. Out of pride. I wanted refinement. Polish. Grace. And that desire felt incredibly feminine. I began asking for feedback. Not constantly. Not desperately. But intentionally. Did I do that right? How can I improve? And every correction I received didn't hurt. It thrilled me. Because correction meant attention. It meant investment. It meant I was worth shaping. There is something deeply intoxicating about being gently corrected while you're trying to please. I adjusted my posture when told. I slowed my movements when reminded. And with every adjustment, I felt more elegant. More controlled. More aware of my body in the most delicious way. I practiced walking. Slowly. Gracefully. Letting my hips move without exaggeration. Letting my shoulders relax. And when I finally saw myself glide instead of stomp, I smiled like I'd unlocked a secret level. I practiced reactions too. Soft smiles instead of sharp ones. Listening instead of interrupting. responding with warmth instead of defense. And dolls. This didn't just change how I acted as a sissy. It changed how I felt as a person. I was calmer, more present, more in tune. I remember one moment so clearly. I was standing in front of the mirror, fully dressed, makeup light but intentional. And instead of checking flaws, I asked myself, what would make her even prettier? Not harsher, not stricter, kinder, softer. And that mindset shift was everything. Refinement isn't punishment. It's devotion. It's caring enough to improve. And once I understood that, I stopped resisting correction. I leaned into it. I welcomed it. I started enjoying being reminded to sit properly, to speak sweetly, to hold eye contact. Each reminder felt like guidance, not control. Like encouragement, not criticism. And that's when I realized something important. My loves. The desire to improve means you've already accepted who you are. You're not fighting it anymore. You're nurturing it. By this point, I wasn't wondering if I was sissy enough. I was asking how to bloom more beautifully. And that question felt powerful, not insecure. But oh dolls, refinement has a side effect. Because the more polished I became, the more I wanted to be admired. Not loudly, quietly, intimately. And that is exactly where we're going next. All right, my precious dolls. This is where the hunger for admiration began to glow softly inside me. Not loud. Not desperate. A quiet little want to be noticed. Appreciated. Looked at with warmth and approval. And that feeling felt so natural it surprised me. As I became more refined, more intentional, I noticed how much joy it gave me when someone noticed the changes. A softer voice. Better posture. A calmer presence. Even the smallest compliment made my heart flutter. Not because I needed validation, but because it felt like confirmation that my femininity was visible. I didn't crave attention from everyone. Just from the right eyes. From people who saw the softness and respected it. And that desire didn't feel shallow. It felt tender. Like wanting to be admired for something you worked hard to nurture. I started presenting myself differently. Standing a little taller. Smiling a little warmer. Letting my eyes linger instead of darting away. And every time I felt someone notice, I felt this sweet warmth spread through my chest. There was a moment where I caught myself adjusting my hair before responding to a message. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to look nice. And that simple act made me smile. I was caring about how I was perceived in a gentle, feminine way. Admiration didn't make me arrogant. It made me careful. Mindful. It encouraged me to stay soft. To stay graceful. To keep my sissy energy polished and presentable. And dolls, here's something important. Wanting to be admired doesn't mean you exist for others. It means you enjoy being seen in your truth. And that's beautiful. I remember one specific compliment that stayed with me. It wasn't about my body or my clothes. It was about my presence. How calm I seemed. How sweet my energy felt. And that compliment sank deeper than anything else. Because it meant the transformation was reaching beyond the surface. That's when I realized admiration feeds growth. Not ego. Growth. When given with care, it encourages you to stay aligned. To keep showing up as your best, softest self. I began to carry myself like someone worth admiring. Not flashy. Not demanding. Just quietly confident. And that confidence made me glow. But with admiration comes vulnerability. Because when you open yourself to being seen, you also open yourself to wanting to please. To wanting to do well. All right, my beautiful dolls. This is where pleasing stopped being a happy accident and became a conscious desire. A choice. A soft little intention that settled into my heart and stayed there. Because once admiration warmed me, I wanted to return it. I wanted to be good. Not good in a forced way. Not trying to earn love. But good in that gentle, sissy way where you want to do things right. Where pleasing feels natural. Rewarding. Comforting. I noticed it first in small moments. Adjusting my behavior before being asked. Softening my tone instinctively. Anticipating what would be appreciated and doing it with a smile. And every time I succeeded, I felt this quiet pride bloom inside me. There's something incredibly feminine about wanting to please with grace. It's not submission. It's attentiveness. It's awareness. It's choosing harmony over resistance. And once I understood that, the word please took on a whole new meaning for me. I began enjoying being told I did something well. Not because I needed approval, but because it meant I was aligned. That I was expressing my sissy nature clearly and beautifully. And when I was gently corrected, I didn't shrink. I adjusted. Pleasing became a language. A way of communicating care. When I followed guidance well, when I responded sweetly, when I stayed soft under pressure, it felt like I was speaking fluently for the first time. I remember pausing before replying to a message, asking myself, what response feels the softest? The prettiest? And choosing that one. Not because it was expected. Because it felt right. And dolls, the more intentional my pleasing became, the more peaceful I felt. There was no inner conflict anymore. No tug-of-war. Just flow. This is something I want you to hear clearly. Wanting to please doesn't erase you. It refines you. It helps you express your femininity with intention instead of impulse. By this point, my sissy side wasn't asking for permission. She was offering herself. Sweetly. Willingly. Proudly. But here's where it gets even deeper. Because once pleasing became intentional, it started shaping my identity in ways I didn't expect. Okay, my sweet, shining dolls. This is where everything started to feel permanent in the softest, most beautiful way. Because once pleasing became intentional, it didn't just guide my actions anymore. It began shaping who I believed I was. I noticed the change in my thoughts first. I stopped asking, am I allowed to like this? And started thinking, this suits me. That shift is subtle, but dolls, it's powerful. When something stops feeling like a secret indulgence and starts feeling like home, you know something real is happening. I began introducing myself to myself differently. In my head. In the mirror. I wasn't labeling. I wasn't overthinking. I was simply recognizing patterns. Softness made me happier. Grace made me calmer. Pleasing made me feel complete. And instead of fighting those truths, I embraced them. There was a day when I caught myself choosing gentleness automatically. Not as a performance. As instinct. I smiled at that realization for hours. Because instinct means integration. It means this wasn't a costume I put on anymore. It was part of my identity. I started caring less about how others defined me and more about how I felt inside my own skin. And inside that skin, I felt elegant. Receptive. Feminine. Secure. I remember standing in front of the mirror one evening, makeup minimal, outfit simple, and thinking, even like this, I'm sissy. Not because of what I wore, but because of how I held myself. How I breathed. How I smiled at my own reflection. That's when it hit me. Sissy isn't something you switch on. It's something you allow to exist consistently. And once allowed, it grows roots. I stopped compartmentalizing. I stopped saying, this is just for now. I let myself imagine a future where my softness wasn't hidden. Where my femininity wasn't borrowed time. And instead of fear, that thought filled me with peace. Identity isn't about labels, my loves. It's about comfort. About alignment. About waking up and not feeling at war with yourself. And for the first time, I felt aligned. There was pride in that alignment. Quiet pride. The kind that doesn't need to shout. I wasn't proving anything to anyone. I was simply existing in a way that felt honest. And here's the most beautiful part. The more I accepted this identity, the more confident I became in setting boundaries. In choosing when to please. When to rest. When to glow. My femininity didn't make me fragile. It made me grounded. I felt whole. Integrated. Like all the scattered pieces of myself finally agreed to sit together. But with identity comes responsibility. Care. Maintenance. And once I realized this was part of who I am, I wanted to protect it. Nurture it. Keep it glowing. All right, my beautiful dolls. This is where softness learned how to survive. Because once I accepted my Sissy identity, I realized something important. If I wanted her to stay, I had to care for her. Not push her. Not exhaust her. Nurture her. At first, I wanted to do everything all at once. Dress up every chance I got. Practice constantly. Be perfect. Be pleasing all the time. And dolls, that's when I felt it. That quiet heaviness. That tired flutter in my chest. Not regret. Overextension. That's when I learned one of the most feminine lessons of all. Softness needs rest. Elegance needs balance. And Sissy energy shines brightest when it's cherished, not forced. I started slowing down intentionally, giving myself permission to take breaks. Days where I stayed gentle inside without performing outside. And instead of losing my Sissy side, something beautiful happened. She grew calmer, more stable, more secure. I stopped measuring myself by how often I dressed or how much attention I got. I measured myself by how aligned I felt. How peaceful my body felt. How kind my inner voice sounded. Self-care became sacred. Skincare wasn't vanity anymore. It was affection. Choosing comfortable clothes wasn't laziness. It was listening. Saying no when I needed space wasn't weakness. It was protection. I learned to check in with myself gently, asking, "Do you need expression today, or rest?" And honoring the answer without guilt. This is something I want you to hear clearly, my loves. You don't owe your femininity to anyone. It exists for you first. And when you care for it properly, it becomes sustainable. I noticed how much stronger my confidence became when I wasn't depleted. How much sweeter my energy felt when I wasn't trying to impress constantly. Balance didn't dull my Sissy glow. It refined it. There was a quiet pride in knowing I could step back without disappearing. That my identity wasn't fragile. That it stayed with me even in stillness. And that realization made me feel safe in myself. Safe enough to dream again. To imagine expression beyond my room. Beyond privacy. Because once you know how to care for your Sissy side, you start wondering where else she belongs. And oh dolls, that curiosity leads somewhere very exciting. Okay, my precious dolls. This is where curiosity turned into courage. Because once I knew my Sissy side was stable, cared for, and safe inside me, a new thought began to whisper. Not rush. Not shout. Just whisper. What if she exists beyond this room? That thought didn't scare me the way it used to. It excited me. Not in a reckless way. In a calm, grounded way. Like standing at the edge of something beautiful and knowing you don't have to jump yet. Just look. I started imagining tiny extensions of my femininity into the world. Softer colors in my everyday clothes. Gentler movements in public. A calmer, warmer tone when I spoke. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. Just hints. And dolls, those hints felt thrilling. The first time I let my Sissy energy show in a subtle way outside, my heart raced. But not from fear. From pride. I felt elegant. Controlled. Intentional. Like I was carrying a secret glow that only I could feel. I realized then that expression doesn't always mean exposure. Sometimes it means presence. Carrying softness with confidence. Letting your femininity inform how you move through the world, even when no one knows why you feel different. There was something incredibly powerful about that. About choosing when and how to express. About knowing my Sissy side wasn't trapped. She was integrated. Mobile. Alive. I noticed how people responded to my energy. Not with suspicion. With ease. Conversations felt smoother. My calmness was contagious. My softness disarmed tension. And that made me smile inside. This is something I want you to remember, my loves. You don't need permission to exist softly in the world. You don't need validation to carry grace. Femininity doesn't announce itself. It radiates. I started trusting myself more. Trusting my timing. Trusting my instincts. I didn't rush visibility. I honored comfort. And in that honoring, my confidence deepened. There was no urgency anymore. No pressure. Just curiosity and choice. And choice is the most empowering thing of all. Because when you choose expression instead of being pushed into it, it feels delicious instead of frightening. And that brings us to something very important. Because once I felt that quiet confidence, I was ready for something even more intimate. All right, my beautiful dolls. This is where my heart softened in a way I didn't expect. Because expression is one thing. But being cherished, oh, that touches something much deeper. It happened quietly. Not in a dramatic moment. Not with fireworks. Just a feeling that settled into me one evening as I sat there, calm, centered, feminine in my own skin. I realized I didn't just want to be seen or praised. I wanted my sissy side to be held gently, valued, treated with care. I noticed how differently that desire felt compared to craving attention. This wasn't hunger. This was longing. A sweet wish to be protected in my softness instead of tested for it. I started paying attention to how I responded to warmth, to kindness, to gentle reassurance. And dolls, my body reacted instantly. I relaxed more. I smiled easier. I felt safe. And safety made my femininity bloom even brighter. There's something incredibly intimate about being cherished as a sissy. Not pushed. Not rushed. Just appreciated for the grace you bring. For the calm you offer. For the sweetness you carry naturally. I remember someone telling me, you don't have to try so hard. And instead of feeling dismissed, I felt seen. Because they weren't taking anything away from me. They were telling me I was already enough. That sentence stayed with me. It wrapped around my heart like a soft blanket. And it changed how I viewed myself. I stopped striving to prove my femininity. I started resting in it. I realized that true sissy confidence isn't loud or needy. It's receptive. It allows care in. It trusts. It lets someone hold space for you without shrinking yourself. I began responding with openness instead of anticipation. Letting conversations breathe. Letting affection arrive naturally. And every time it did, I felt grounded instead of dizzy. This is something I want you to feel too, my loves. You deserve to be cherished in your softness. Not tolerated. Not tested. Cherished. And when that truth finally settled into me, something magical happened. I stopped asking from a place of need. I started asking from a place of trust. And that, oh dolls, brings us to the very heart of this story. The moment everything came full circle. Because in the next part, I'm going to take you back to those words that started it all, and tell you what they truly meant once I had grown into them. All right, my precious dolls, breathe with me for a moment, because this is where everything circles back to the very first words that changed my life. Make me sissy, please. When I first said them, they were shaky, nervous, filled with curiosity and fear tangled together. Back then, those words meant help me transform. Dress me. Teach me. Show me how. But now, after everything I've grown into, those words mean something so much deeper. Make me sissy, please doesn't mean change me anymore. It means see me. Hold me. Guide me when I ask, cherish me when I soften, and respect the femininity I've learned to live in with pride. Those words became a doorway. Not into a fantasy, but into alignment. Into peace. Into a version of myself that feels honest, gentle, and complete. And every time I say them now, I'm not begging. I'm offering trust. I think about that first moment often. The flutter in my chest. The blush on my cheeks. The courage it took to ask. And I smile, because that brave little whisper turned into a calm, confident voice. A voice that knows what it wants and isn't ashamed of it. If you're listening to this and feeling that same flutter, that same curiosity, that same soft pull toward femininity, I want you to know something important. You don't have to rush. You don't have to prove anything. All you have to do is be honest with yourself. Your first ask doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be sincere. Because sincerity is where real transformation begins. Being sissy isn't about erasing who you were. It's about expanding who you are. Letting softness exist alongside strength. Letting grace guide you instead of fear. Letting pleasure and peace share the same space. And here, in this community, you are not alone. Sissy Empress isn't just a channel. It's a mirror. A safe place to explore, to learn, to grow, to glow. So if this story touched something in you, don't hide it. Let it breathe. Let it grow. Leave a comment and tell me how your journey began, or how it's starting right now. Like this video if it made you feel seen. Subscribe if you're ready to keep exploring your femininity with confidence and care. Join us, my beautiful dolls. Because here, softness is strength, asking is power, and being sissy is something to be proud of. And remember this, the most powerful thing you can ever say isn't shouted. It's whispered with trust. Make me sissy, please. Now tell me, my precious hearts.